And,
struggle with the work, yeah. So I don't think the Wi-Fi worked.
just.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear us on Zoom? Someone unmute or put it in the chat if you can hear us.
No. We don't have to vote.
Jane or Anna, can you hear us?
No, anytime I want to.
I can hear you all.
Why were you?
Okay,
You're
Anna,
gonna
I
stay
texted
here.
started in just a few minutes. I'm gonna mute it for.
You're gonna stay your food.
Go find it first. He said hard.
I would imagine the same thing. You can talk about it.
No, for tomorrow. When it's happening, we're doing sign in school.
Wanna try again? Marianne? Folks, we're getting started in just a minute. We're having a couple of just little, Zoom related issues, but we're gonna get started in just a second.
8:37.
Okay, so.
They might do it.
So, we got.
837.
Four names still attached. So these are our kids. Loving their organic. Look at that. Oh my, yeah, like so funny.
253.
Oh, no, that's so.
We're on music right now. We are right.
Are we good?
Yeah, right. That would be my.
We're unmuted, right? Oh, we're unmuted. Sorry, guys.
Anyone in the room who has the Zoom open, just make sure you mute your computer, because it'll have the feedback. Yeah. I think it is
We
3
just need another minute, folks.
I can monitor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wanna get?
3.
Okay. So it's on your screen to move. Okay. Hey, are we cool to start?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to New Hampshire Child Care Advisory Council August meeting. The August meeting is always sort of funny. Sometimes we only have 3 people in it. Sometimes we have a whole bunch of people. I'm delighted you're all here. We don't quite have a quorum, but we're going to share anyway the information that we have available, and we're just going to vote on it. So hopefully everyone's comfortable with that. Do we want to take a second to introduce ourselves? We have some new faces, so let's just go around the room. We can introduce ourselves and then we'll get started with the agenda.
I'm Sunny Tainter. I am the incoming project lead for the New Hampshire After School Network.
Yay.
I'm Bill Sir Helen. I'm the liaison from the American Academy of Pediatrics.
And he's our immunization expert, if anyone ever has any questions.
Jotham Spreeman, Bureau of Child Development, Administrative Operations.
Mary LaFlamme, Community College System, Early Childhood Nutrition System. Program Manager.
You can say genius or guru. That's fine. We've seen what you've done. We've seen what you've done.
Diana Menard, NHTI, and representing the community college.
Good afternoon, my name is Lisa Rampus, I am from the University of New Hampshire.
Candace O'Neill on BIA.
Barry Mena, also from the University of New Hampshire.
I'm Trina Engelfinger here from New Futures.
I'm Lynn Willett, Vice Chair of the Council and Director at Ellie's Treehouse.
Marianne Barter, I'm the Executive Director at Merrimack Valley Daycare Service and Chair of the Council.
Hi, Shannon Tremblay. I am the director of the New Hampshire Child Care Advisory Council, and I have a little allergy thing going.
She's
on,
trying
so-
something on.
Yeah.
She's trying this new bubble
Yeah.
voice on.
Hi, I'm Jackie Cowell from Early Learning New Hampshire.
80% from Early Learning New Hampshire. And just gonna remind folks, we're using the OWL
So you have to really speak up so folks on Zoom can hear us. We're getting a little bit of that.
Claire Sullivan, I report on early care and education for the Hampshire Council.
All right, folks, let's get started. Jotham, you're first. Let's have the Bureau of Child Development and Head Start collaboration updates.
Thank you.
You probably don't have anything to share. I'm just kidding.
Well, I saw a warning that we had a packed agenda, so I just tried to keep it minimal today, but. Starting out with scholarship details, we cracked the 5,000 mark. Have a little over 5,000 kids accepting childcare scholarship as of last month, which is fantastic. We have another 361 kids who are eligible but not yet linked to a provider. And that number, I was curious what the makeup looks like. It's 69% of those 361 kids are school age. So maybe their sibling is still using scholarship and they're old enough they can stay home by themselves or something like that, but just so we have a bit of info. And then I think one of the pieces that I was asked about last time in June was the makeup of the STEP. So I figured 56% of those 5,000 kids are in step 1 or they're cost shared one of that mode of scholarship. 10% are in step 2 and 34% in step 1 where they have no costs to themselves.
Okay, and the step 2 is a 5%, $5 code?
Yes, yep, the $5 copay, yeah. So that way we have sort of a bit of understanding about that. Those numbers, that percentage does shift a little bit, of course, but those are like I think the average from the spring months. So it's what I could get at the moment. And I figured, better than nothing. So.
And the 361, those are children that have already filled out or
They're
have
eligible.
applied.
Yep.
But they're not linked to a center.
Correct. Yeah. So they're not counted in that 5,000 of being linked to a center and getting the benefit, but they are eligible for it. And obviously summer makes that number, I don't know what that does to it yet, but it seems to be lower than other months in the year.
That's actually interesting because you have 30 days, right, to get linked, or 30 days to get attached to a provider. Is that right?
I think at the start, right? But I think that if you could be eligible for an entire year, right? For 12 months, don't we have 12-month eligibility?
And not be linked to a provider?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right?
Is that
You
right?
can, I think, but they'll tell you at district office, they have 45 days to,
45 days? Okay.
and I dispute that, but.
It's an interesting number to watch, because certainly we're concerned about availability and the amount of people who are taking child care scholarship. So thank you for giving us that number.
Yeah,
For the future.
I intend to continue to report on that.
Okay, that'd be
so we
great.
Get some more info.
Perfect.
I'll keep going.
Colleen is just sharing that it is correct 30 days to link.
Colleen knows more than both of us, Jonathan.
I will not contradict Colin. Next, I wanted to give some updates on grants. I wanted to start with a mea culpa to talk about the August 1st email that came out from NHCIS, where our intention was to send an email to providers who had not yet submitted their report for the CCWG that is due tomorrow. Our intention was to send just an email that said, hey, don't forget, it's due in 2 weeks. And only to the ones who hadn't submitted. It went to everybody. So caused quite a bit of confusion. I do appreciate folks around here. I think I saw Dee come in. Oh yeah, over there. Some of a lot of the partners here, you guys all heard about it, and I appreciate your patience and your help getting that sorted. Because we had that glitch in the system and it went to way more people than I wanted and turned out to not be as helpful as I was hoping it was gonna be. So I apologize for that mistake, and we're gonna continue to work on being better about it and hope that we can execute on some of those things as we.
So appalled, I still haven't submitted. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, it has nothing to do with that.
Yeah. It's not 4 o'clock tomorrow yet.
To know for certain that if you have submitted it and to make sure you're all good, you should have received an email, response back from the Bureau when you emailed it to us. Or if you submit on NHCIS, you should be able to see that in the grants tab when you go back in. Everything should be good there. We are just a little over 50%. At least when I made the slide earlier this week, we're a little over 50% of programs reporting. And so I was going to make another plug to make sure that folks got those reports into that air tomorrow. Because obviously we have our own deadlines to be able to report back to the legislature about this initiative, how successful it was, or if it wasn't enough, all those sorts of pieces that they want to know. So that, well, obviously they could be informed and maybe do it again. So.
And can we just talk about deadlines a little bit? Because
Absolutely.
Karen Hebert and I have been talking about this recently. In the past, we were all going through some challenging times. DHHS was going through some challenging times, providers were going through some challenging times. And I think we all know that deadlines got a little mushy, right? It got mushy on our side, got mushy on their side, whole bunch of mush. That's really not gonna fly anymore. So what I really want providers to know is that we'll do our best to advocate for you, but at this point, we're trying to move forward with a very strong sense of deadline is the deadline. Let's get our stuff in so that we can do the work that we have to do with these numbers. Yeah, I know that not fiscal policies do. UNH will be looking at this data. They have a chance to share this information and come up with a report. And we need that soon. So we really want to make sure everyone, including myself, I will have it by tomorrow, get their reports in on time so we can get that data back. My little plug for timeliness.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because that's something I want to make sure, like, I don't like to feel the pressure of a deadline either, but I know that the legislature will be looking for that report as well.
Look forward to.
Yeah, well, you're right.
Yeah,
Everybody
we-
involved
we're-
wants
yeah,
that. So,
The field needs
so yeah,
information.
if we get those in, Jackie.
If I may say, I love what you just said. We'll find out if it was successful or it wasn't enough. I thought that was so intuitive. Because seriously, because there was just a year for implementation when it came out, but when we were at the legislature this year about the second childcare workforce grant that I know you're gonna be talking about, there was not a question, what's the data, what happened? They knew that you need dollars to retain and recruit. It was a no-brainer if you've ever worked in a business, right? So I just want to thank you for those words.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it has been one of the biggest topics we've been talking about over the last, since I started. So, I picked up on it. Thank you. But yeah, so you can still email that in, to us through the BCDHSC reports, inbox. Or you can go to, the dhhs.nh.gov/childcare and go to the provider grants, on the side there to find templates to email those in, or head into NHCIS, click that grant tile and fill out the questions there. We tried to make the grant tile in NHCIS simpler, so that there's fewer questions. It doesn't ask information that we already have, like capacity and things like that. So trying to make it simpler, so that folks can report on time, but I know that would be a big switch, so you can still email it to us and it'd be okay. And then just another plug that the reports for the quality incentive from last year are due at the end of this month, August 31st. And same, you'll find those report templates on the website at Provider Grants. I have a little screenshot of the quick links section on the right there. So, fingers crossed we can get all those reports in and then we can churn out the results and hopefully, I guess keep going for round 2. We'll see.
No, there's no we'll see. We'll be going around here.
Well, what I mean to say is just that, speaking of round 2, the letter we sent to ACF was sent off on time. We haven't had a response yet. We are eagerly awaiting that as much as you are. And, fingers crossed. I know that once we get the response, it will take time to set up. And so I just preemptively ask for patience when we are, going through GNC and whatever else for our process and setting up in NHCIS. So, I don't know how long it will take after we get approval, but I'm, ask for patience is all.
After we get approval, love that.
And then last slide for me is the next one, I think, is, yeah, Bureau News. So just a couple of things. Obviously, I'm sure everybody's seen the changes to website. NH Connections is no more and redirects you to DHHS. And I also, again, appreciate the patience that folks have and the feedback. I have spoken with a number of folks about the website and the feedback I've gotten there. It's been really helpful to help us like keep going and make sure that it's useful. Keep that coming. If you want to reach out to me directly or to, another inbox, the regular BCDHSC inbox, you can reach out to that one. Happy to get that feedback. I think I've been invited to join a birth through 8 meeting later this week, or actually it might be next week. To get feedback directly. So keep that coming. We want to keep, revamping that website so it looks good and works for everybody. And then Bureau Chief, we've started interviews. I know that August is a difficult time with folks being on vacation. So trying to schedule those with the committee is, stretching them out a little bit. I think that we have key folks out next week and the week after, so we'll be interviewing into September. So hopefully, they'll be picking somebody in September is my hope. That will keep going.
But it's interviews plural. You've had several people apply.
Yes, we have had a bunch of people apply. I don't know the number, but I know that there's been multiple candidates interviewed so far with more on the way.
And
So,
the deadline was 2 days ago, is that?
correct, yes, it
Right.
was August 12th
Yeah.
for the application, so
Yeah.
we won't get any more, but we've had a good number.
That's great. Jonathan, I don't know if you can answer this, but is it all internal DHHS people on the committee to choose the bureau chief?
It is not. So at least I know that like we've had a head start part of that as well.
Okay.
And actually, I maybe should have given a thought to, I'm not sure if I was allowed to answer that, but I did, so find out together.
Not gonna lie to you, it
Beg
feels
for
a little-
forgiveness.
Yeah, looks like, it feels like a party we weren't invited to, but that's okay.
And then just heads up, so found out earlier this week that we've got a couple of rule changes regarding credentials. I'm sure you guys are all more familiar than I am that for a while we were charging fees for credentials and stopped because there weren't rules to back that up. So now we have those rules. There'll be a public hearing on the 16th of September. Remote and in person in the Brown Building Auditorium on the main campus. I'll be sending those out as well, be blasting the draft. And this is just an initial draft, so we want feedback. So when you're reading through these rules and the various forms that go with them, which I'll be sending out, please give us that feedback.
So will it be the same fee it was prior to the having to suspend them?
I believe so,
Okay.
yes. I do not believe there's been an increase. I think it's flat and it's the same, yes.
Has anything changed to the credentialing process that's gonna be discussed at GELCAR, or is it literally just the fees?
I believe it's just like giving us the authority to do the fees. I will admit to not being an expert in how it was done before because I wasn't here and I haven't gotten that far into my research yet, but I'm sure that when you read it, you'll know as well. I'm sure you know more about it than I do. And that's it. That's all that I've got.
Thank you.
Any more questions come in?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Can we just take a minute though to see the providers who are on the call, any providers in this room? Have you had success filling out your grant report and how is that going for you? So just like a thumbs up or a thumbs down or, yeah. Anybody?
Get some thumbs up in the
Give me
room.
some thumbs up in the room.
2
Oh,
thumbs up.
good, there we go.
I almost thought it was, what was I missing?
Yes.
So
Oh.
So you were where I called Jonathan and said this was too easy.
I was like,
What
wait,
did
the other page.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought it was very easy.
Awesome.
Great.
That's huge, Jotham, I have to say. You weren't here before, but that never happened like that before. So congratulations on you and your team.
Awesome. I'm glad. Thank you.
You're getting a fair amount of thumbs up.
Oh, before we move on from me, Rick, I almost forgot. the website changes, I wanted to give a shout out to Alex Amaral in our office, who's done the vast majority of those updates. One just rolled out this week, which we've already got some positive feedback on, and she's been doing the lion's share of those updates. So just make sure I give credit where it's due. And
Great.
Carrie Peck obviously doing all of the NHCIS updates. So
Awesome, just a comment that the paper was more complicated than the online version of the report. Not sure if they were the same or not.
the paper version is, I guess, what it always had been, and we tried to take a look at what it was asking and what was already in NHCIS and strip out that stuff that was already in NHCIS and boil down to just what was necessary for the online version. So yeah, the two are definitely different, but kind of on purpose. So
That's cool.
cool.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Childcare licensing is not here today. So childcare licensing, Melissa Clem was not able to join us today, but she gave us a couple bits of information. Jenna, want to take it away?
You want me to do this?
Yeah. Can you?
My-
Can you?
I can try. So the licensing rules changes are on the consent calendar for next Thursday, the 21st, for the gel car meeting. Melissa did say that there were some changes that they had to make. Most of the changes were rules that they had that were in the forms that they had to then put into rule. So it was just some like internal changes. And Melissa will have a final version that goes to gel car. She'll send that out by Monday to all providers. And if we get passed through gel car without any additional changes, the new rules will go into effect September 22nd. So that's kind of a tentative date depending on what happens with gel car, but that is the date if everything passes on August 21st.
I think we should take a minute and just remind everybody how comprehensive this process was. Took a couple of years. A group of providers worked with childcare licensing to go through it, rule by rule by rule by rule, and really try to make it as usable a document as possible. So I think several of us went to the public hearing. There was not a lot of negative feedback. The most negative feedback we heard was around CPR, which surprised us. So I don't know if those changes made it into it, but in general, no one got everything they wanted, but it does seem to be a better document. So I'm looking forward to this passing and hopefully it'll get through smoothly.
Yeah. And then the other thing we wanted to talk about was the independent informal dispute resolution. So this was a new policy that went through, I think in last legislative session. It's been a while. I don't remember.
It's official, we have to
It's
do it.
official, yeah. So the New Hampshire Child Care Advisory Council has been asked to put this group together that will be a group of providers similar to what we did for the licensing rules, where it's providers from each type of childcare, family childcare, center-based, after school, and we're gonna hope to get from each region, so that we have kind of a wide variety of childcare centers. And this is a confusing process.
Yeah. You want me to take over?
Yeah, go for it.
So right now, if a provider has an issue with a childcare licensing finding, they would appeal to childcare licensing. And so in some ways, for providers, that feels very unfair. Although statistically, providers tend to win, but it feels uncomfortable. What this does, what the IIDR does, is makes a council of childcare providers made up of 3 or 4 different childcare providers and a couple people from licensing to hear the dispute and make a finding, a separate independent finding. And the great thing about this is that, frankly, I run a childcare program. If I do something wrong, I can complain till the cows come home that licensing has it out for me. But if a jury of my peers say, Marianne, you blew it, I know I blew it, right? That's going to improve the relationship between childcare licensing and providers, and it gives an opportunity, I think, for people in the field to be commenting on things that are happening in childcare, in actual childcare centers. So you might come, as a childcare provider, you might come and say, you know, I feel like it was unfair that I got this, violation and here's why, blah, 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 blah. And your peer group may be like, you know what, you're right. That was a confusing way that was written. And we agree with you. We agree with you. It is not fair that you got that violation because we could have read it that way. So we are really excited about this process. It's gonna take some time to put it together, and there are a lot of peer review, dispute resolution, groups out there. There's like real estate ones, and there's banking ones or whatever. So we have to look at kind of what is best practice and kind of figure it out. So it's gonna take a little bit of time. It's going to take some volunteers, people who have a little bit of free time, who are dying to do this sort of thing. Please let us, stop it. You know you want to be there, yeah, but.
I would call it dying to do it.
But it's an opportunity and, you know, yes, volunteering now takes some of your time and it's frustrating and we're all very, very busy. But 10 years from now, it's gonna feel like this is the way we've always done it. And isn't that cool? And isn't it cool to have the opportunity to be one of those people who are like, yeah, 10 years from now, we put this together, but now it's just smooth silk. So let us know.
Is there an estimate about how often this panel would need to?
About 6 times a year.
It's about 6 times a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said, yeah, a handful of
Yeah.
times.
Got
Yeah,
it.
she said it's not too often.
Although in the beginning, it might be a lot,
Right.
because let's face it, I mean, you know,
Warming.
give it a try. You know, but then after that, really getting the committee together is probably, they say they get about 6 of these a year.
Yes.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I think that's it. So if you would like some more information, or if you want to be considered for this panel, then shoot me an email, and we're starting a list. And I will be, once we get the process all figured out, I will be sending out some more information on that.
Shannon, Anna's asking, is there gonna be a process, and maybe you don't know yet, but to remedy if a panel member has a conflict?
Absolutely. So I think what's gonna happen is that we get a pool of providers. And then depending on, what type of, violation it is, or what center-based or family-based, then we'll pick from that pool of providers to form that smaller panel. So it's kind of gonna be like the big panel or the big group, and then these smaller groups. It's only gonna be a couple. I think that's how we're.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We've never done this before, but
Alternates maybe.
Yeah.
the alternates. And in a perfect world, wouldn't family providers make up the bulk of a team that are looking at a family violation, family provider violation, right? So let's try to be as fair as possible and match things up. Frankly, I haven't done school age in 30 years, so if, not 30, sorry, 25, I'm not that old. But I probably would not be the expert for a school age program violation. So we're going to try to be as fair as possible, but as a result, we really need some voices about the process. So anyone who's interested in process work, who wants to be part of this, we would really appreciate you joining us. We'll send out a survey.
Yeah.
Shannon's family's for
We love
surveys.
surveys.
You love a survey. All right.
And before we move
Yeah,
on, I just
sorry.
had a question going back to Job, if we're switching over.
We can
Okay.
go back to John.
Jen was just wondering about the pyramid model trainings and where to find them and what the final cost is. Is that something that was on New Hampshire Connection?
Pyramid model trainings are still available for pyramid model programs at GSQ. I think if you're not a pyramid model program at GSQ, the costs are on the site for those. That I don't think that I think there was a time when they were all free or covered by
Yeah, we
a
love that.
grant. Yeah, but I think that money ended, might have been COVID money. Correct me if I'm wrong there. No, it was okay.
You know what?
I don't know, but I guess, are there, just a question, this is Diana Menard from NHCCAC. So Pro Solutions is where those were housed. correct?
Right.
Yes.
So are there other trainings that were free that have gone away that we know of? Because the only reason I ask is because as the community college system, we tend to incorporate some of those into our courses for students to get, well, that's fine.
Yes.
But
Health
some of the
safety.
pyramid model ones, we had as part of our course so that they were having those certificates of training. And then if they go into the field, they already had those, like implicit bias and things like that. So I don't know
Can we connect on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be
That's a
important
great
for
idea.
the community college to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, let's connect, make sure we cross those T's, dot those I's
Okay,
for those.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jen is adding that they were part of the apprenticeship program as well.
yes, I have to apologize to Jen. She emailed me and I have the draft sitting. I kept meaning to actually send, and then I had to do updates and things, and so I didn't actually end up replying back to Jen. I apologize, Jen.
So part of what happened here is that, we used to never spend down our child care scholarship money. We always had extra money at the end of the year, and those kind of funds were the things that were used to pay for things like pyramid model trainings for everyone, and blah, blah, blah. Now that we have increased participation in child care scholarship, which is a wonderful thing, our budget has not changed. We desperately need to change our budget, but our budget hasn't changed, and as a result, there's less money available for all of these wonderful things that we were taking advantage of for a very long time. But certainly there will be advocacy to get them back, so raise your budget, bud. It's on you.
And I mean, from Stan, one of the things
You don't mince words.
well, one of the things that I really took note of is how many other states have their state funds a part of their budget in New Hampshire. It's like,
What are state funds?
yeah, that's, it was really striking to me to see how many, other states, that was. There were entire sessions on how to use those state dollars. I don't have to go to those, I guess.
Yeah, I'm visiting the pool during this time. It's unfortunate. We are a very wealthy, very cheap state. And this is something that's worth investing in. So that's our job, to get investing.
Jen has her hand raised. Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that these are really a good, solid best practice for childcare centers. So whether you choose to participate in either
Jen,
one
you're
of
breaking up.
whether you choose to participate in either pathway in the grant steps for quality, they're still really good best practices that we want to train towards. So being able to access them is really important to, I think, every childcare center overall.
Jen, lean into your mic.
I'll just type.
Sorry, Jen.
Another question going back to the panel, Anna's asking, would it be available to everyone? So her interpretation of a rule is reviewed and a violation is reversed. Would that apply to all providers? Kind of like the courts, if they interpret something, then the rule becomes expressive.
What a great question that we have no idea now. So until this isn't even a thing until GelCar, that's when it really becomes part of the licensing thing. So, after that, we have to get serious about figuring this stuff out, and we don't have a clue. We've never done this before.
And as you said, there's other models that may have all of these kinds of things pre-answered.
That we will steal from
Exactly.
excessively, yeah. Okay, they're used for best practice. Yeah. I'm assuming Jen is still talking about pyramid model.
Yes.
I think I can answer some of the pyramid model questions, or I can at least give it a shot.
Can you introduce yourself first?
Yeah, so this is Andrea Foster from Bureau of Child Development Head Start Collaboration. I actually manage that pyramid model preschool technical assistance network contract. Is everybody hearing me okay?
Doing great.
So the pyramid model modules on Pro Solutions, they were made temporarily free to all providers through a combination of iSocial and PDG funding, and that was for a period of 5 years. When that 5-year expiration hit, Deborah Nelson was able to allocate some ARPA discretionary funds to continue that. Those have all expired. So what we're looking at now would be very similar to the way that the learners modules for ERS programs are made available on an as-needed basis to the ERS pathway. Pyramid model programs will have those made available to them on an as-needed basis in a very similar way. Does that make sense? But
People
they
are
are
part of the QRS pathway.
yes, yes. However, those pyramid model modules are still available in 2 places. They're available on Pro Solutions still, but at a cost, and they're available at Pyramid Model Consortium's like national website, also at a cost. That is an acceptable use of QRIS like quality incentive funding. So if a program is on the ERS pathway, but they still want to access Pyramid Model content, they are welcome to use their QRIS money to do that. That's an acceptable use of that funding. And as far as like college courses and things like that, we can talk about that, Diana and Jotham. But I did talk to Rob Corso, and he says that when colleges reach out to him and they want to integrate those e-module pieces into their coursework, he is happy to strike a bargain with colleges and get them at cost, at a discounted cost, in a bulk rate, so that colleges can have buy-in into that work as well. So there are some options there. Nothing is off the table.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Andrea. That's great. It feels unfortunate that the people who would benefit most from pyramid model training may not be people who are on the path, the QRIS path, right? Because in order to be part of the QRIS system, you have to have enough bandwidth to do it, right? It's like accreditation, you have bandwidth. And some people don't have that, but still need the support that the pyramid model brought. And unfortunately, it is pretty pricey, especially if you're looking at aligning with all of your staff or whatever. But we appreciate that. Thank you very much, Andrea.
Sure. And if I can just offer as well that I have been talking in my regular contract management meetings with Pyramid Model Consortium and the Preschool Technical Assistance Network about all of these considerations. And just because right now we can't like broadly afford to make everything available to everyone the way we have in the years past, it doesn't mean it's out of the question. It doesn't mean it won't come back. And what we've been talking about is potentially having those kind of in-person trainings that PTAN and Child Care Aware offer, having some of that pyramid model content come back to in-person opportunities so that people could get that content for free in person to kind of feel out if it's something, if it's a philosophy that would work well for their program, if they want to hear more. Obviously, that desire wasn't there when all of these e-modules were free and people could take them at any time on their own time. But if there's a desire and a need for that, we will talk about offering those by workshop trainers.
That's a great solution. And it's a nice way to get a lot of buy-in from a lot of your staff at once. So the in-person is really, that's great. Thank you for working on that, Andrea.
Of course, let me know. Anybody feel free to reach out with some feedback on that, or if there is interest, and I can pass that information on to Joan.
Great, thank you.
Couple of questions. So the cost for programs that are trying to start the pyramid model pathway at their program, is there any support for those?
Yeah, and Bevan, I have your email in my inbox right now, waiting for that very answer. The original, excuse me, words. The original like set that people need, right now they are not available for free for people to come into that step one. That is, we are actively working on a contract to get those available every single day. This is like my top priority to get that contract rolling. As some of you know, the contracts process, it can be a hindrance to getting the work done that we want to do. But Bevan, I will get back to you about that, and we'll try to get you some access before that contract goes into place.
Andrea, while you're still with us, do you have any statistics on how many providers are participating in the QRIS system?
Yeah, I do. Don't quote me on this. I don't have my numbers truly up to date in front of me. We have about 146 programs right now actively awarded and engaged in the work. There are a small handful of programs kind of on deck waiting for their application to be processed. And, you know, a couple ready for renewal. So that's what I've got right now.
And do you have any idea how many of those were crosswalked in by being part of being accredited or?
Oh gosh, yes, I do have an idea, but I'm not on my VPN. Not only do I have an idea, I have the exact numbers. I think we have, I don't want to misquote here. There's probably between 30 and 50 that were crosswalked in either as a Head Start or a NACE accredited program.
Quick question, Andrea, this is Jackie Powell. So of that 146, might like 4 of them be one program that manages 4 sites, or is that 1 or is that 4?
Yeah, I count them as individual because they're awarded by license number. So, for example, we have like Rochester Child Care. I think all of their programs are in now, and I count them as individual programs. Same with Boys and Girls Club of Central New Hampshire, Kinder Care programs. So they each count as one unless they share a license number.
So there clearly is still there's a lack of participation from the field. So that's something that we should talk about just sort of in general. But we will not put you on the spot, Andrea, so thank you, because Shannon's looking at her watch and she's glaring at me.
This is Ann from Rochester Child Care Center. Please check William Allen School again.
Check. Tell me again.
William Allen School from Rochester Child Care Center, we still haven't received that we're, our system there, yeah.
It's gonna be the last time Andrea ever.
Yeah.
No. It's fine. Okay, I will look into that.
Hold 1 second,
I
Sonia
just
also.
had a quick, Pro Solutions question, so it might not necessarily be Andrea, but just while we're gearing up for the fall, has there been any changes to the school age, Pro Solutions that were offered for free? Just so I can let our team know.
Those are still available. I believe the only one that came down was supporting e-learning for out of school time programs. We reviewed it in the department and it felt unnecessary to continue paying for that particular one. Everything else that they were accustomed to is still posted.
Awesome, and it's still free?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Cool. All right, moving on. The BEA is doing a webinar on Thursday, August 21st. And they're looking for some providers to hop on. It's supposed to be more of like a discussion around HB 1567, which talks about zoning regulations. So if you're able to, please register. We'll try to throw the link into the chat because I know you can't click on the link here, but and also if you know of any cities or towns that have made this zoning process easy or easier to navigate, they'd really like to hear from you and from those city municipalities. So we will throw the link in there, and that is Thursday, August 21st at 1 o'clock or noon to 1, sorry. Live. And this came from Sarah Fox at the Alliance. She wanted to make sure because it didn't get into her newsletter, but the Parent Information Center PIC has put out their newsletter, and that's just a picture of it there, but you can also click on those links to get registered to get their newsletters. There's some really good information on their childcare development. And they also have a new website, the Early Childhood Hub, which is more geared towards parents. But there's a ton of great information on there as well. So those were 2 things that Sarah wanted me to share with you.
All right, so our big Child Care Advisory Council update is that I'm stepping down as chair. I've enjoyed, this has been the best work of my life, and I've loved every single second of it. But I run a childcare program. I run actually 2 childcare programs, and they need me at this point. So this is not getting, the work of childcare is not getting any easier. So I am passing the baton. I have a baton. I'm passing the baton to Lynn Willett, my vice chair, who shall take over as interim chair until the election. Next to an amazing job, you will be in great hands. So,
Let's see you do it.
Right?
And The way the Child Care Advisory Council is set up in our bylaws, the past chair does not get to just slip quietly into the night. Ann Grassi will tell you that. You stick around for at least a year to make sure that there's consistent leadership, that I didn't forget to tell Lynn something.
Someone that's really free.
Yes.
So,
I'm giving you flowers.
yeah, but anyway, thank you so much. Thank you for being such an amazing council. This has been astounding. This has been great.
Just a question, can you stick around for more than a year?
Can I stick around for more than a year? Yeah, but Lynn might get sick of my foolishness.
Well, it's in the bylaws, the past chair is part of the executive.
It's in the bylaws.
It's in the bylaws.
Currently.
Currently, it's in the bylaws that whoever is past chair, if they can serve, is on the executive committee with the chair, the vice chair, and the secretary.
It's been decades.
And, yeah.
But you don't hurt the cats anymore. I mean, that's really that's gonna be Lynn's thing. So all of that, you know, we get asked to do a lot of things and we're a volunteer organization. We get asked to do a lot of stuff and it has been amazing and absolutely my pleasure and I've really enjoyed it. But I leave you in Lynn's capable hands. She will be fabulous. Thanks, Mary. Yeah, you're welcome. All right.
Can I say something?
You have to.
I have to. I have to. I know you don't like this stuff, but you've been great.
Okay.
And
You can stop there.
no. And honestly, you know, getting a paid director, it was life-changing for a volunteer organization that's.
Thank you,
proud.
Coach.
Yep, thank you, Couch. And, you know, it's been around since the late eighties in so many variations. And, I think that its voice, its strength, its reputation has really just soared over the last year after lots of different leadership, but I think you've been a huge part of that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. All right, moving on. Do you want to take over as running the meeting?
Oh, sure.
We can point it at.
So, Trina is going to give us some legislative and budget updates from New Futures.
Thank you. I'm just gonna keep it really short today, and I know we have a lot of interesting things on the agenda. As of the last Child Care Advisory Council meeting, the House had tabled the Child Care Scholarship Bill, which was SB 243. And the Senate had added a significant portion of it back into the budget. And that's HB 2. Since that time, the budget was passed and signed by Governor Ayotte on June 27th. And so those significant portions of SB 243 did make it through and were passed. And so there are some changes that are now set to go into effect as a result. Providers will, once the system is up and running, providers will no longer have to report hourly attendance for scholarship participants. There will still be some attendance reporting requirements due to federal requirements, but it shouldn't be the 35 clicks per child per week that everyone's had to do for some time now. Providers will be receiving scholarship payments at the start rather than the end of the period of care. And starting in January, there will be a presumptive eligibility pilot program for families, which will have a simplified screening process. And families will, if they pass through that screener, will have up to 60 days of paid childcare through the scholarship program, while they finalize their formal full applications. And the only hitch to that is if childcare scholarship goes into a wait list, that program may not get up and running. So it's really not a sure thing, but we'll see what happens and report back on that.
Can we just talk for a minute about how essential it is that the presumptive payments are going to start? So right now with childcare providers, I won't know if I'm getting paid for someone until after I provide the care. And that has been a huge problem for childcare providers for a really, really long time, because every time you lose a link or every time someone doesn't reauthorize or whatever, you don't find out till after you've staffed and fed and done the whole 9 yards that you're not getting paid for that kiddo. And you can try to recoup it from the parents, but you know, blood from a stone and all of that. So this is really huge and should really have a huge impact on, cash flow for childcare providers. I mean, I think we really want to thank New Futures taking the lead on that. That was great.
Well, we're really excited about it. There's been a couple of other states that have modeled a program like this, but it was a door that was opened through, the 2024 amendments to the CCDF statute. And I think New Hampshire was very lucky to have stepped forward and taken advantage of it. So hopefully it'll, play out in a positive way, and we'll definitely keep reporting back on that. Thank you. And I guess just to echo what Marianne said, we definitely heard that although theoretically families are on the hook for that time, many providers are stepping in to pay for care during that time. And so it's a burden that everyone in the network bears right now. So there was an appropriation of $100,000 made to put those changes into place.
Not quite enough money, folks.
But with the wherewithal of DHHS, they're moving forward in a lot of different directions, I know with that, so.
Trina, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Will signatures still be required?
will signatures still be required? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. I think there's a list.
Responded
Oh.
in the.
Thank you.
Just.
Pauline is saying yes.
I was going to say, yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you, DHHS.
But that is an advocacy point, so thank you for whoever brought that up.
Any other questions on that for the folks here and online who are wiser than I am?
I just want to respond to, so Melanie from the Bureau also said it's the requirement of signatures is in rule. Is it a state rule or a federal rule?
State rule.
State rule.
So that could be changed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hence the
All
advocacy.
right, very good.
Yeah.
We are doing you guys a favor. You don't want to look at all those signatures. So
Ah.
you're welcome.
We got some licensing, I think Melissa's.
Right.
Well, she's not here today.
Fair. I'll pass. Great.
Just want to give everyone a quick update on the next legislative session runs from January to June 2026. It's not a budget year, but other legislation will be considered. The first step is for lawmakers to submit legislative service requests, or LSRs. So you'll be hearing a lot about LSRs buzzing around in the next few months. The Senate has until 4 p.m. on September 12th to submit LSR proposals. The House has until 4 p.m. on September 19th. There is a little bit of wiggle room in the Senate because there's a confidential filing period that comes a little later in the year. But starting maybe late September, certainly in October, we'll start to see those LSRs turned into draft bills, and we'll start to see what those.
Trina, I had heard that there's not gonna be any placeholder bills allowed this year. We had talked about that, Shannon.
Yeah.
Is that what you've also heard?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what a placeholder bill means is typically a senator or a rep can do these legislative LSR and just sort of be really brief, like we're gonna help childcare with liability insurance or something, without going into all the detail of how, what the policy, what the rule. So they could always do what they call a placeholder, and then later on, they could flesh it out and write it into great detail. My understanding is now, especially in the House, the Speaker of the House is very clear, he doesn't want anything that's just a placeholder. You have it all fleshed out by this, and this is much earlier than usual too. These times are much earlier, so he wants fewer of them. And he wants them to be all fleshed out. So this placeholder idea of, I have kind of an idea, I'm not sure I'm gonna do it, because you don't have to do it. They're gonna crack down on that, I guess.
That feels like an uncomfortable intrusion on my civil rights as a resident of New Hampshire. That's really
It's an
irksome.
unusual change.
Irksome. I can say that because I'm not chair anymore.
As mere civilians.
As a mere
Right.
civilian, that's right.
I just want to pitch that my colleague Lauren Martin and I are working on a family engagement program this fall. We want to give families and parents an opportunity to gain advocacy skills. So if anyone knows a parent would like to participate in that, More information will be coming, but please reach out to me, so.
Just a comment, Sarah, said they're thinking of moving to virtual check-in and check-out. How are others getting signatures with virtual attendance records?
That's probably a Colleen question.
Yeah, but I think there's a way to do it. Good tip.
I would hate to speak out of
Yeah.
turn. I would hate to give anyone guidance that is not accurate. We can follow up on that, Sarah, and get back. I'm so used to running these. Liz can follow up on this.
Yes, we will follow up on it, Sarah, and we'll try to get you some answers.
To elbow me.
Chelsea does virtual, but there's an option of signature.
An option, like, very good.
Yeah, I believe there's an option in your radio.
Alright. Okay. Moving on, that's me. Jackie Furman cannot be here today, so, don't know if there's really any updates from NHC that we know of.
I do not talk fast enough to speak for Dr. Herman. So she talks so fast.
Yeah.
She'll give us she'll let us know.
And then we'll go to Lynn, sorry.
Oh, sorry. So we're gonna go to Dee Furman from Child Care Aware to share her update. Or Dee servers. Oh, did I call you Furman? I'm sorry, Dee Ferber, my apologies.
Over the next to your life, Shannon.
Oh, sorry, trying to do too many things. All right.
Sorry that's so small, but hi, everybody. Just wanted to share, we have our fall training calendar is complete, so if you want to take a snapshot of everything that's listed on that. So these trainings are open in NHCIS, and so the top ones that are listed are the virtual learning communities. So if you're interested in a specific group, like the infant toddler preschool, we have family engagement, all of those. You can go into NHCIS and register, and those are held the same time, same day, every month with different topics. We invite guest speakers and things like that. Wednesdays is open for registration in NHCIS, and then we have an American Sign Language series that we just started. That was a request from the field. And so we are starting that, and then there will also be ASL training at our conference in September. Yeah.
There are some great opportunities on the training in September.
The conference.
Yeah, the conference.
We are actually really excited, and
There are some great opportunities if you haven't checked that out.
And so that's on Eventbrite. If you go to Eventbrite, you'll see the Keys to Quality Conference is open for registration. And all of this information is in our newsletters as well. So we send out the monthly minutes. And you can find and subscribe to that newsletter if you're not subscribed now. If you go to capper.org under services, you'll see Child Care Aware, and that's where all of our information is. And I'm actually gonna put that with the check there. And then we do have September CPR and first aid training is scheduled for September 20th. So we're still offering every month no cost CPR and first aid training. So and I think I actually have a slide with more dates on it too. So just if you know whoever's keeping track of those trainings, or if it's the teachers that are, have them just know the dates that we're offering these training. Again, it's no cost, and we're doing it monthly for the year. And Shannon, you can go to the next slide. So that's for our Keys to Quality Conference, and you know the date and the time with Nick Thompson and Scott Noyes. So again, like Lynn said, we have amazing sessions for that conference. So hopefully a lot of folks can attend. And the next slide, Shannon. And those are some more CPR and first aid dates. The one that's in 2 days from now, that one is full. But then we have September 20th, and then in the fall, October 18th and November 15th. So just to be aware of that. And next slide, Shannon. We're doing the next round of our successful teacher cohort. So that was designed for teachers that might be new to the field, that want like the basic information. So it's a 6-month series. We've changed it. We had one 6-month series run, and so it was successful, like with the name. It was successful, but we got feedback about how we could make it better, and so we are doing that. And so one of the pieces to have it be a little bit more helpful for people that are in it is to offer some mentoring around it. So it's not just the virtual piece. So there will be mentoring opportunities if a participant would like that. So there's a QR code there. So again, this is for teachers that might be new to the field that really need the basics. And next slide. So this is for all providers. So please update your program profiles at NHCIS. We've talked about it before about why that's so important, and it's because we really need to have the most current numbers about vacant spaces. So for our team on the outreach side, that's what we do is we refer families to your programs. So we need to know what your vacancies are when we're giving out those referrals. So we just did a round of maybe 150 phone calls to providers, asking them to go in and update. I got feedback that they were just happy to talk to our outreach team. And they felt like they might be a little bit in a silo. So what I did is I had our TA team send regional emails out with a link to this meeting. Because we have so much information that is shared at this meeting with all of the players that are here. So hopefully we gained some people, but I also said that they could watch the recording, which is still true, correct? Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, so we're trying to get people to, jump on or watch the recording as much as possible because so much information is shared here. So
People do watch them. We get a lot of feedback. You know, you can come to the meeting, but I watched it.
they watch the recording. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for responding.
Yeah, absolutely. Super important information. I think that's the last slide. Yep. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Any questions? No. Perfect.
We have no questions. Thank you, Dee Dee.
Thank you.
We are going to move on to Diana Menard from the Community College System.
Hi, everybody. So a few updates and then I'm gonna turn it over to our amazing person over here, Carrie LaFlamme. Some just community college updates. I think last time we were here, I mentioned that we, as a community college system, all 7 colleges got together to promote a future early educator camp that was gonna be carried out various weeks over this summer. And I can say that 3 out of the 7 colleges actually had participation. So Nashua Community College, White Mountain Community College, and River Valley had enough participants to run their camps. So the other of us had to cancel. We didn't have as much interest, but we're gonna collectively get together and kind of figure out where we missed some opportunities. And I really think it was more promoting it and the timing that we promoted. So we'll get on that now that we have a system in place and put that together. But we did have participants, and the system is putting together an article about it that will come out, and I'll have more to share on that the next time, you know, participant quotes and things like that. Enrollment is doing pretty well right now throughout the community college, and I know that's why we have Terry here. And I can say personally at NHGI, we have 3 courses that are completely full. And classes start August 25th. But just to remind everybody that there's like open enrollment and we have multiple starts during the semester. So if you don't get in it by August 25th, there's still other opportunities to enroll in classes. And then I just want to remind out of school folks down there as well that we have the out of school basics course. So, and that can be covered by the GAP scholarship money that Terry's going to talk about. So if you do need training for out of school folks, that we have that course that's available. Abigail Blodgett teaches the course for us. And then just personally, for me at NHTI, just a couple of things to share. We are in our self-study process for accreditation. So we are expecting our site visit in the spring. And then we had a realignment at NHTI. So I'm now actually a department chair of child and family studies and education. So there's a little bit of a, maybe. I'm sorry. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Education was never like I didn't go higher than 3rd grade, not myself, but that I learned about. So we'll see how that translates.
Honest thing, that sounds like more work.
It is, but it's all good. But also to piggyback on that, my colleague, Shauna Babcock, many of you probably know her name. She now is a program coordinator for early childhood. So I got a little bit of like a retreat there. And then I'm going to turn it over to Terry because she has more of the GAP scholarship money and some really cool numbers and things like that to share.
Okay. Again, I'm Terry LaFlamme, and I have a couple slides here that are snapshots showing the number of tuition assistant recipients over the last couple of years now, and then the next slide shows money values. It's complicated to decipher all of this just because these totals do include funding that we received through GSQ, through the Preschool Development Grant, the ECTA program, and others that have now ended. But it's nice just to see what's happening. I'm looking at fall 23. That was the first term we had the GAP money. And because we got it quickly and didn't have a process in place, we just awarded students that were registered for early childhood courses or matriculated as an ECE student taking general ed courses. We paid for their courses. And so we hit a nice high number there. We did really well. But because of different rules connected to the different grant programs we were managing, it was important for us to have an application process. And so starting the next term there in spring, we did have an application that students were required to complete. Our numbers dropped a little bit, but at the same time, oftentimes our fall numbers are higher than our spring numbers anyway. Summer tends to be low. Only a few of our colleges even offer ECE courses over the summer term. So it's interesting to see that there's some numbers and some strength there. But again, I'm excited because that means we're getting some of those students who are wanting to get their degrees, getting their gen eds taken care of, their math courses, their English courses. A lot of these students are wanting to take the American Sign Language courses. So it's exciting to see the choices they're making. If we want to go to the next slide, you can see the money. And again, this is by college, and it's exciting to see how strong the NHTI program is. But the other programs are gaining strength. And again, each college is in a different community. They have different needs, different resources, all those different things happening. But there's growth across the board, and it's exciting because we're spending the money that we've been awarded. This past budget approval, we were given the funding that we were given 2 years ago. They renewed it. So we have $1.25 million that we can use for tuition assistance. That includes early childhood courses, general ed courses for matriculated ECE students, books. I mean, it does a lot.
And I just correct that. It's 2.5 for the total. 1.25 per.
1.25 per year,
year,
but for the biennium, we got another 2.5. Yes. Thank you for making sure it's
No, that's
understood. Next slide, please.
Oh, Terry, give you a question.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm wondering, I used to be adjunct faculty at NHCI.
Oh, okay.
There, but population wise, it's not nowhere near as many people as Nashua. So I'm wondering why so many more people go to NHTI.
Because of these people.
Right?
I just wonder if there's been some.
No,
Oh, yeah.
so I think there's a couple of things that happen in terms of our community colleges when you look at numbers across our
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Is for example, Lakes Region has a part-time coordinator.
Okay, all right.
We have 2 full-time faculty.
Gotcha.
Nashua has 1 full-time
All right,
faculty.
that's
So I
good.
feel like it's more like resources for the programs that are provided. And also NHTI is the only one in the system that is 100% off.
Well, that's what I wanted. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And again, we're aware of these variables and we're working to figure out ways to, again, get the message out to these students so they know, because the money's there for them. And if they can use the money well, it benefits the whole state, basically.
But also one of the, and I should also just reiterate, one of the things that we've done really well collectively, I think I've talked about the CDA, we're working on an apprenticeship for articulation credits as well, but also if by chance, like for example, we offered a course and it was full, we refer our student to, take it at MCC and, it follows, the money goes everywhere. So
Right.
we can still get them going forward. It comes back into our program of study. So we're course sharing a little bit more than we used to as well if our courses are, so.
And that's working well.
Yeah.
And so I have, no, I have a question. So I have a staff member who was, sorry, Lisa, taking classes at UNH and King State, and she can no longer get grant money for it.
Because the ETA went high.
Can she articulate her credits over to NHTI to see where she is?
But I don't know, right, so maybe, if they want to complete an associate degree and then go back, they can do that. But we're clearly different entities in terms of an associate versus a bachelor's or master's.
I think at this
UNH.
point, she'd like to at
Yeah.
least get her associates, and
Yeah.
so.
She must be at CPS.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, yep. So yes, because the UNH online program articulates really well with all of our, the community college system, so that's not a problem in terms of like transferring in and things like that.
I'll
But-
have her reach
Yeah,
out.
and I
She-
know that,
she
the
absolutely
Teach Scholarship, has kind of, I don't know what's gonna happen, but.
Yeah.
I know that
Diane
you're
might
telling
be-
you over the.
Yeah, yeah. So I know, it's kind of like, where do I go for the, but we wanna make sure students are debt-free as much as possible.
Right.
And then they can use that money to then go on and finish a bachelor's that they would have, had not planned on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Kitty LaRochelle is just praising the accelerated program at NHCI. She thought that was fabulous. And then Amanda's sharing that the apprenticeship program was thankful for the CDA articulation credit.
I just had a question about the CDA as far as college, because they do the CDA and they have to have a verification visit. Are the college professors, do they do the verification visits or they have to get a P?
No, they, like Amanda Enos is a verification.
Okay, I am as well.
Yeah,
That's why I was
no,
like,
we
there's
don't
only
do-
like,
We don't do
5
that,
of us
it's
in the
just
state.
it's the person coming to us. They
Okay.
just provide their certificate that they have completed their CPA.
okay, perfect.
Give
Thank
that
you.
to our admissions office.
All right.
Yeah.
The last slide, I have just a few more points. You can see there, and this was as of this morning, because again, we're open for applications for the fall term and we will continue to process them as we receive them. But over the last 2 years, over $3,200,000 was paid for students to take courses through our system, and that's just an exceptional thing, and I'm thrilled. I have the count of awards. It's not unduplicated students, and I would need to do a little more digging on research to see just how many individual students we touched. I could do that for a future meeting. And I'd also be curious to see how many have graduated. And again, we have a way of figuring out that information, but right now I'm in the throes of processing applications, so that can't happen right now.
And Terry, do you guys have, or anyone else in NHCIS track if they're still in the field? Is there anything that's done that way?
With ECTA, we were required to do that. And
Okay.
so I'd be curious to see what
Yeah.
types of things that were part of that program will continue to have legs as we work with the GAP money. It's a different funding source, so everybody who's worked with grants, you know how much fun it is to spin all those plates.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you know what I love about this? And it is sort of like talking about the wages issue, but from a different lens.
Right.
Because truthfully, what you're saying is, I am making quality affordable. This is something you can afford to do this. And people are lining up around the block to do it. I mean, look at these numbers. So that really speaks to the cost benefit analysis of us in the field.
Yeah, and that was really where the chancellor was coming from in terms of when he went to legislate you know, for getting this funding was to take the barrier out. We know that there's a workforce shortage. We know that the wages are, so
Horrific.
how.
It's okay to say horrific.
How can we give the people what they need
Right.
and not have to pay more to make, you know. whatever.
And they want it.
Yes.
They want it. It's
They-
not like you're
Yeah.
offering something that people are not
Yeah,
taking full
exactly.
advantage of.
So again, we're still accepting the applications for the fall term. We're working, always trying to streamline our processes, trying to keep them neat, clean and simple. We don't want there to be barriers for students. And so, I just need people to be aware, historically, I've always sent a personal, notice with letter or letters saying this is of course you're awarded for how much, which course name, section number, all that stuff. Mail merge is wonderful, but we're not doing that anymore. We're using the application platform to just send the notification to the student saying you've been awarded. It reminds them to look at their application to see exactly what they've been approved for, then to connect with their advisors. I cannot stress enough the importance of making sure our students are connecting with their advisors. They'll help them make the shortest and cleanest trek from start to finish. They'll help them make good choices for sections and all that kind of stuff. It's important that they have those conversations. So I'm glad that we're able to reiterate that to people, but
I'm actually appalled that you didn't want to send out 5,931 personal emails.
oh, I've already done those.
Sarah, I have a question for you, and maybe I don't know the answer. I think I ask this occasionally. Is there information or data that would tell us of the students who got money to take a course that actually finished the course or left the course?
Right.
Or is there any data that you have related to that?
Not here.
Okay.
ECTA, the Early Childhood Tuition Assistance Program that just now ended, had some very strict parameters and monitoring all that type of stuff. And so we have data. But now with the gap, I'm being told we don't need to track those same things, and we're having conversations about.
I would
that.
imagine it's minimal. I would hope it's minimal. What do you mean? Meaning that if I sign up for a class, I get money from the state
Right.
to do this, and yet I drop the class. I
Right.
leave the class. I don't finish.
So we're having those conversations, and Terry actually just sent a message out to all 7 of the colleges, and we don't necessarily want to get rid of the application process. And we've also talked about putting in some type of parameters, right? Like, and I've been saying to students, you really, this is like a amazing thing that you're getting. You really need to kind of be in good standing to continue to receive these. You know, we give everybody like the benefit of the doubt, things happen, but that's why the advisor piece is so important that Terry refers to, because Terry she's amazing. She will reach out to me and say, hey, there's a student that blah, blah, blah happened. And I can give them a perspective and say, well, this is what happened to them. And we need to give them another opportunity to take the class or whatever. So there's a lot of communication, and yes. So we're trying to put parameters because we want to be good stewards of the money.
Sure. Right.
And not continually having people take and either not pass or not attend or whatever. So.
And like one of my thoughts, it'd be easy to say, okay, no application, just award them if they're registered.
Yeah.
But I don't like that idea. And again, I'm protective of our people because if somebody's almost done with their associate's degree, I want to make sure they finish that. If somebody's over here, oh, I just might just play with this and take this course, that's not, we want the people who are committed. And so we have to somehow walk that thin line.
Terry, can individuals apply for spring funding in October or November?
We'll be able to get things up by late fall, yes. The comment I put here, it says, please be aware about the award notifications. I'm no longer sending them personal emails. So applicants will need to be aware to watch their email and to see the message that comes back from Dynamic Forms. It's the platform we use for the application. But then they'll get a message and they can look at their application. They can get the message and the details that are included in that letter that comes via that board. And again, I include my email there in case anybody has, hey, can you do this? Or what about this? If somebody has an epiphany, sometimes great ideas come from people that are kind of out of the inner circle. So I'm always open to hearing suggestions to how we can make this money accessible. We can spend it well, and the children of New Hampshire will benefit from it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? So we now have Katie Weyer.
I was like, oh,
one.
yeah.
I'm a Olet, and I know I am. From the Center for Trauma Response Practice, and she's going to give us a presentation.
Yes.
Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. I just want to say, I am somewhat new to the early learning community here, this setting, the center. So please tell me if I use any wrong language. I'm hearing all the acronyms. I am a licensed social worker, so my 10 years of experience has been in the mental health world. So I know all those acronyms in that language. So I just wanted to preface that. Please correct me if I say anything that needs to be changed. But yes, I am Katie Weyer. I am the CPP Network Manager at the Center for Trauma Responsive Practice Change. We are a small nonprofit founded by Dr. Cassie Gackley. And our focus at the center is on infant and early childhood mental health. Next slide, please. So I thought what might be helpful is to maybe talk about our services through the lens of, this is a totally made up story that I'm sharing, not any story that I've worked with. But so I thought I'd share this story, and then as I'm talking about services, I can kind of share how we can help support this kiddo that might be in a center. So Leo is 5. He started attending your child care center after being placed in foster care. His parents were arrested 2 months ago, and now he's living in an with unfamiliar caregivers. He seems to be lost in the shift from chaos, right? Maybe it was chaotic in his home before he went into now a quiet setting that could be in the foster care home. Each morning as he arrives at the center, he brings in his little stuffy fox named Milo. He rarely speaks. He avoids play, he sits alone, and he does building and destroying of blocks. Leo is pretty hypervigilant, meaning he's flinching a lot and studying movements and is scanning the room constantly. His behavior can be unpredictable. He sometimes hits or kicks when other kids get too close, or maybe he throws some toys when he's frustrated. And then at nap time, maybe you observe him being frustrated, refuses to lay down, and instead he's just curling up in the corner. So that's could be, right? Maybe you've seen some of those behaviors in kids in your center. So let's keep Leo's story in mind as I talk about the services that we provide. So the first one, a trauma responsive skills training, and this is specifically geared for early learning professionals. This one is currently ongoing. So we started this in May. We started with a presentation by one of our psychologists, Megan Wilson, and it was talking about trauma responsive practices in an early learning setting. And since then, the cohort of people that we trained, we've done monthly consultations with them. And as you see, we're holding them the first Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. We've had a handful of providers and professionals engaged in that. We have kept it open, so if there's ever anybody from any of the centers who's interested in attending one of those, we recorded that first training, so we just ask you watch the training and then come and you can be a part of it. And that consultation is a place for learning. Megan, the psychologist who leads the group, she will come with kind of a topic each month. The past couple months, we've been focused on aggressive behaviors. And then we also leave it open for anyone on the call to maybe bring up de-identified information. So not sharing any names or anything like that, but just to talk about this is what's going on. Let's talk it through. So we've been doing those, and we will follow up and have a additional training in October to sort of like wrap up that cohort, and we're gonna see how it goes and see if we can expand that into next year. There's no like definite plans, but we're just kind of seeing what traction we can get from it. So the child-specific consultations, so if we kind of pull back to Leo's story, he could be a kid that you're like, wow, we could maybe use a little bit of consultation and support for our staff. So these consultations focus on the child's experience in the learning center and especially as they're healing from the stressors and trauma. So these consultations are going to be for our kids who maybe have experienced a major stressor or trauma. I believe we would want to like have that confirmed, or like at least like we're pretty sure that they've experienced some chaos, stressors, or trauma outside of the learning center. And as I indicated in Leo's story, that might, you know, the being in foster care is a trauma, but that could be maybe a kid was in an accident, maybe a parent was in the hospital. So any type of traumas. For these consultations, we would need parent permission. It's conducted by one of our psychologists at the center. And the consultation is going to be focused on reflective and collaborative approaches with the professionals at the center. And it's going to be trying to work with those professionals to deepen their understanding of their experiences in their life and how they are impacting the support that they're providing to the children. So the idea is the psychologist will help incorporate that into the consultation, as well as focusing on that specific child that the center is bringing to us. And the psychologist will come to the center to do some observations if that's possible, do some document review, conversations with anybody. So what I will say is that we have some referrals coming in. We haven't done any yet because this is a very new service. We're very excited about it. So we do not have a formal process for referrals yet. And what I would say is just email me. If there's somebody, you know, like, hey, we could use a consultation, just reach out to me. And same thing for the training that we offer. If you're interested, you could just reach out to me directly. You can go to the next slide.
While we're switching, are those the trainings in person or virtual?
They are virtual. Yep. Those are virtual trainings. Most of because our center doesn't have like a base anywhere, so we are pretty much all virtual, unless like we came to the center to do the consultations. We'll talk to you.
Is there a cost?
No, thank you for bringing that up. So the training that I was talking about that started in May, that is being funded by the Dobles grant. We have the Dobles Foundation is supporting us in doing that, so that is totally free. And then Dobles and we're on a SAMHSA grant. They are funding, they're funding together for the consultations are totally free.
Great.
Yeah. Any other questions on that before I see? Okay.
They want your email.
Not yet. So I couldn't come here without plugging child parent psychotherapy because that is a huge part of what we do. And as you probably saw from my title, it is in my title, CPP Network Manager. So in the state of New Hampshire, we have trained around 200 clinicians in child parent psychotherapy. It is an evidence-based model to support children who have experienced trauma under the age of 6. So that is where the evidence is based for under the age of 6. It is, as I stated there, it is if a child has experienced a major stressor or a trauma and under the age of 6, they would be an appropriate referral for CPP, child parent psychotherapy. I just like to put out there that other little piece about it is a relational model. And the reason I like to emphasize this is because a lot of parents think, okay, I'm bringing my kid to therapy, they're going to go in the office, right, and see the therapist, but it is important that the caregiver knows that they will be in the office every single time with this child because it is about the relationship and healing the trauma or stressor through that relationship with their caregiver. Because I'm sure, as you all know, right, it just takes one relationship to change a child's life. So that is what the model does, is really build and strengthen a relationship that they have. And that is the focus. So my role at the center is to facilitate and expedite referrals to therapy. So because we trained these therapists across the state, and it is for free that we're training them, we expect them to take referrals pretty quickly. So if you have a child, you're like, oh, I think, they would need this, you can come directly to me and I can help facilitate that referral. On our website, there is a map that shows where we have all of our clinicians. You're welcome to go there too, and do that. But if you ever need somebody to kind of help facilitate or expedite a referral, please come to me directly and I'm happy to do that. And I think that's it. The next slide has my long-awaited email address. So email me any questions that you guys have. There's our website as well. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know.
Really difficult behaviors are what we hear about the most.
I know.
So this is amazing.
Yes.
We're really looking forward to having you back. I won't be the chair, but we'll have you back in a year. And if you could tell us about all your success stories.
I would love to.
Yeah, we would love to have you back, Katie. What a great service, and I hope that everybody that is on today will, if you need help, take the opportunity to reach out to Katie. And we will have you back again in the near future.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Katie? Oh, all right, we are going to move on to Noreem Mena from UNH Mena Research Lab, and she's going to be doing a research study presentation.
Also, I have some animation, so I'll say click, click, and then next slide.
Okay, I hope it works.
So thank you all for having me here, honestly. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the Farm to Early Childhood Research Project that I'm leading in New Hampshire, our Farm to Early Childhood Research Project. But before I jump in, I just wanted to give a little bit background of myself. So I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. I moved to Providence, Rhode Island when I was 9, and I grew up there, went to URI where I completed all my undergrad and graduate studies, and I lived in Colorado for a little bit for other postdoc training, and then I found my new home here in New Hampshire at UNH. And all of that time, which is almost full circle in the last 10 years, my work has really focused on supporting the early care sector, focusing on children, but also understanding that those that support and care for children also need resources. And so a lot of my work focuses on how do we support early care educators to implement best practices to create healthy environments for young children, but also more recently too, where we are expanding our scope to also focus on early care educator wellness and how that ties into, right, if we're expecting caring and nurturing and education to happen, we also have to ensure that our workforce is healthy and able to do those things. So that's not necessarily tied to what I'm talking about today, but I just wanted to mention that. And then also just say that my mom in high school, when I was in middle school and high school, was also a family childcare home provider. So that was, it was wonderful because at the same time, my uncle had 3 kids in about 5 years. So there were a lot of little ones, and what a wonderful support, right? Where many families, right, it could be a challenge to find childcare. And so, and it's great. So then I got to see my baby cousins grow up, those first, 5, 6 years, which are super exciting. Next slide. I also want to acknowledge the village that has truly gotten me here today. I started UNH in 2022, so I'm still pretty new in New Hampshire and learning about our communities. But New Hampshire Farm to School, the Farm to Institution of New England, Hampshire Hunger Solutions, New Hampshire UNH Extension, and then of course, the Ag Experiment Station that we have on campus. UNH is a land grant university, and they are the ones that have awarded me this money to lead this work. So obviously can't do it without them. Next slide, please. And then just because I am presenting on things that are funded through this award, just disclosure that I would have to present that this work is supported by the Hatch Project through the USDA
NEFA and the state of New Hampshire. So any opinions or findings or conclusions or recommendations that I may say are right a reflection of my own and should not be constructed to represent any official USDA or US government recommendation. Next slide. So who are we? So the MENA Lab is the Maternal and Early Childhood Nutrition and Health Research Lab. We focus on the health behaviors at home. We also focus on maternal health. And then one of our biggest components, or my favorite, is really engaging families in nutrition education opportunities. And so many of you are probably aware that that is, a best practice. But in real world can be really challenging to engage parents. So that's something since my graduate studies that I've always focused on to share that the load and the caregiving and the caretaking work, right, that our early care educators, our early learning professionals have, right, how can we build more capacity for parents to be able to engage? So that's just a picture of our lab group. Some of them have graduated this past spring, so it'll be updated, but I do want to acknowledge that all the work that I do would not be possible without my lab group. And, they are a mix of staff, UNH undergrads, UNH grad students. And I believe Giovanna, one of my colleagues, and also MENA Lab research members on the call to help facilitate some of the that we'll do in a little bit. So I do have a QR code up on the screen, and I believe it says, I probably could look it up the screen, but I can't see that far. But we're looking for early learning professionals, parents of young children. We focus primarily on families with children that are ages 6 and younger. We know in terms of food access, thank you. It is single female-led households with children under 7 that are at the greatest risk of food insecurity. So another reason, right, to really focus on our families with young children. So if you want to scan the QR code, that one is not for the study just yet that I'm going to talk about, but it's our listserv, and that's an opportunity for us to send out resources. We send out notifications about research opportunities if anyone's interested. And then also if we have an event coming up or if we're going to be somewhere, it's just a way for us to stay engaged with our community. Next slide. Okay. So how many of you in the room are familiar with farm to early childhood or farm to early care?
Familiar with
Farm to early childhood or farm to early care and education. There's so many phrases to categorize farm to early childhood. There's also farm to preschool. But in a nutshell, right, there's 3 key components that make up farm to ECE, right? Local food procurement, engaging children in, I was going to say STEM, but it is STEM, right? These food-based learning activities or agricultural nutrition education activities. And then, of course, gardening. And so I'll share a little bit more about our first coalition meeting that we had last week, but it was wonderful to see how many early care programs are doing on-site gardening. And that first meeting was actually really rich because we had direct feedback to our mission statement where they want our members said is we want to see on-site gardens in the mission, right? We talk a lot about local food procurement, but that might not be feasible for many programs. And so what are other parts of farm to ECE can we amplify, right? Maybe local food procurement isn't going to work for one site, maybe it might work for another one. But the goal is to increase not only food access, but these rich experiences for children to learn about food. And in the nutshell of which I probably should have said earlier, right? Exposure is one of the biggest ways to get children to eat vegetables. So that in the big picture, that is my dream. I just want all children to love vegetables, which is one of the hardest foods to get little kids to enjoy. But nonetheless, we know the evidence shows us that farm to early childhood does not only benefit children quickly, right? We see benefits to childcare providers or early learning professionals. They enjoy the benefits of local food alongside the children, increasing access and knowledge to the local food system, but also, right, providing those opportunities to engage young children in food-based learning activities or nutrition education, gardening. Click, please. We also see benefits to families. We know that gardening and healthy food preparation can create opportunities for bonding and engagement. So that's that parent engagement piece. How do we support parents to do what's successful in the early care program, for example, but then the child won't necessarily eat their broccoli at home. And I've heard that so many times where like, they do all these things in childcare. And so how, how do we support parents, right? Kids sometimes are just gonna do that. Next clip, please. And then we also see benefits to the community, which I'll preface, right? There's still little known about how, or I should say there's still more to be learned about how this can benefit our local food system and local producers by connecting them to the early care sector. Next clip. And then of course our local food producers, right, they also benefit from farm to early care, essentially connecting young children to the local food system. Next slide. So I'm just going to share some previous work that has been conducted to further cement like why this Farm to Early Childhood Research Project is targeting multiple needs in the state. So the Farm to Early Childhood in New England Community of Practice, we conducted this landscape assessment across all 6 New England states. And what this figure on the screen might change a little bit now that things have been rearranged in some of the circles, structural changes. But what we found is that there's so much happening in New Hampshire, there's so much work being done to support early childhood health. But if you can tell, right, there's some lines that are missing. So we're pretty siloed. And so how do we work better to connect these circles on the screen? Next slide, or next click, yes. And so what came out of this assessment specific to New Hampshire were opportunities to establish farm to EC networks in each state, strengthen statewide coordination internally and between state agencies, strengthen connections between state level farm to school and farm to EC interest holders and networks, and then incorporate more farm to ECE trainings into professional development programs. And spoiler alert, although the study is called Farm to Early Childhood, we are using the Go Knapsack tool to collect more than just farm to ECE practices. So we're getting data on oral health practices, child nutrition, infant sleep, infant play, to get a better understanding of what else our early care workforce may need in terms of support and professional development opportunities to continue to create healthy environments for young children. And I did share this QR code. If you do follow it, it just brings you to the interactive eco assessment map. Next slide. Another thing I want to highlight too, this is work that has come out of Vital Communities. So they were looking at barriers to using CACFP. We know that the Child and Adult Care Food Program can be used to reimburse some of or support some of the farm to EC activities. But what they found, and again, something that I want to highlight that's super important for this study is to ensure that we enroll as many as early care programs as possible, because Vital Communities is focused on a particular part of the state, right, that has different geographic characteristics, and that might look different than the needs for programs that maybe are in the South Coast of New Hampshire. So what they found though, that there's challenges with, right, if we're gonna procure local food, who's chopping the stuff, who's preparing it? Do we have staff, right? Maybe family childcare home providers tend to have to do the meal prep, and the feeding and the purchasing, where in some sites and centers, they might have a team or one person really that, right, would handle the menu and the food procurement and preparing the food. So just highlighting again that even though we all recognize that this is a really great thing, there are real barriers that exist to implementing this. And this was specific to local food procurement, which it's not just unique to New Hampshire. The literature will show you that many states that are actively building up their farm to ECE capacity, local food procurement still tends to be the more challenging piece. And one thing I do want to highlight is that, right, how do we build in the buy-in for local producers where it might not financially make sense, right? If a very small center wants to purchase something compared to, right, our farm to school program where they're buying in much more large volume, where that cost benefit will make more sense. Next slide. And just some other considerations that I've come to in the literature. So, and someone from licensing, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the most recent assessment that I could find that compares our ECE licensing regulations to these best practices as identified or described by the Go NAPSAC was from 2016. And there's been many updates to licensing regulations. There's been updates to best practices. So this is an opportunity, as we're collecting this data, to really see what's happening right now, like what's happening since 2016. COVID, we've had closures, we've had so many things impact the ECE workforce. So I do believe it's timely to really get a better assessment of what the landscape is in terms of these best practices related to nutrition, active play, and screen time. We also know that providing children's cultural religious foods, preferred foods in ECE settings enhances quality of care. Children feel seen, they're more likely to eat these foods. But we don't know who's doing, there is really no data set that we can go to and systematically assess that and give credit to those that are able to implement these types of best practices. And then think about how do we support everyone else to be able to adopt the best practices that they can. And then more specific to our Farm to ECE work, we do have a Farm to ECE website with resources available, but currently they don't reflect the most recent updates to our Harvest of the Month. So Harvest of the Month in K through 12 is an opportunity to bring in local produce, provide some education to the students, taste testing, right? You learn about local harvest. And so we're also working and figuring out where can we write another grant to really support updating the current toolkit that's available to early care educators, because we actually don't know who's using these materials, and repackaging it in a way that early care educators want to use it, but also how do we repackage it for parents at home? Again, I don't want the parent engagement piece to get lost. The full title is Farm to Early Childhood and Parent Engagement, right? To ensure, I want it to be clear that this isn't work to be done alone by our early care workers. Next slide. And you can do a couple clicks to add the rest of the, one more. Thank you. So here I just want to emphasize the alignment with this research project as well, with the most recently released New Hampshire Food and Agriculture Strategic Plan. The two briefs that I want to highlight is our nutrition access issue brief, which talks about addressing the gaps in local food access, right? Farm to ECE can be one tool, right, to help connect our young children to local foods. And we also know that nutrition and local food access are interconnected pillars of a resilient and equitable food system. And probably should have said this in the beginning, but I'm also a registered dietitian. I don't know why I always forget to say that, but right, the biggest piece here is if we want, right, children to be healthy eaters, to grow into healthy adults, they have to have access to these foods. We're only going to eat the food that's made available to us, and that can differ dramatically based on where one lives, where the program is. And then the other brief I want to highlight is the food literacy issue brief. So there's actually no standard curriculum to use to cover food, nutrition, and agriculture. And so that's another thing we hope to collect through this study is what activities or what is already being implemented in New Hampshire across our ECE programs, so we can find something or continue to support something that maybe has already existed, but now can be further and widely adopted statewide. Next slide, please. Okay, so there's 4 or 5 clicks there, but to summarize, and I apologize, it's like a research presentation, but what does this all say? This means we have opportunities to examine, what is currently happening in the field and how it aligns with these evidence-based health standards, with or without licensing regulation requirements. We know that policy can take a little bit longer. So what can we do now to support and build capacity to adopt these best practices while policy catches up? There's also the need to examine the resources that are available out there for implementation. We know that there are sites that are champions in doing and have the bandwidth to do the work. But how do we make that more equitable across the state? And also, do the resources available reflect the needs and preferences of our ECE sector and their community, in the communities they serve? So I think about the top 3 languages spoken in New Hampshire: English, Spanish, and French. Right now, we're offering the materials in English and Spanish, but one of our goals is to also make sure that everything we are developing is then accessible in the primary languages that are spoken in New Hampshire. And there's a couple more. Yeah, best practices, and then ultimately nutrition security and food security. This study will help us identify where do we start to increase food access, right? Which gets at the nutrition security piece, and then also one more click, the food literacy, right? Through those harvest of the month toolkits there's many states that have them. They're like packaged very nicely and have storybooks. And we, like I said earlier, we do have one. But what an exciting time to get to update these materials. Next slide, please. So more information about the actual study. So Farm to Early Childhood and Parent Engagement in New Hampshire is a 3-year study. As I just spoke about, it's an assessment of statewide awareness, activities around farm to ECE. But as I mentioned earlier, we're using the Go Knapsack tool, so we're getting more than just farm to ECE, but this particular project is looking at the farm to ECE practices. Click please. And we've already conducted key informant interviews. Now we're in the phase of assessment of practices and policies using the Go Knapsack tool, and later this fall, we'll be moving forward with conducting focus groups with early care educators and parents around barriers and supports for farm to ECE, but also parent engagement. If you want to scan that QR code, that's just an example of activities that we do out in the community that integrate food-based learning, STEM, parent engagement. And so how do we translate that into the classroom for our early care educators as well? Next slide. So what is my ask? We want to hear from you. As I said, we've conducted key informant interviews, and those were about 7, and we were specifically recruiting folks that represented certain sectors, whether it was food and ag, policy, and so I didn't include the findings here, but what we found is everyone sees the benefit of promoting early childhood health. Everyone sees the benefit of investing in our early care workforce, but the concern is capacity and truly the cost. How much do we have the financial capacity to support these efforts? And so if you click 1, right, this is what the main ask is for today. So we're looking for early care educators or teachers and providers to sign up to first do that first part, which is complete those Go Knapsack surveys. There's 3 parts to the study, as I said, the Go Knapsack surveys, and then 2 separate focus groups that would happen later this year. Participants will receive a $50 gift card, whether it's to Hannaford, Market Basket, or an e-gift card. That's just a really generic electronic gift card for each component that they complete. So the highest priority right now is just getting programs to complete these Go Knapsack surveys. And then if you give us permission, we'll follow back up and invite you to the group discussions. But I know I budgeted for up to 200 early care providers. So I think right now we've maybe had 12
people, you get $50 for this.
So,
for each, $150.
Yeah.
You buried the lead on
Yeah.
that. Yes, we'll do anything for $50.
Yeah, so altogether, yes, it would, so altogether, if you complete each part, it would be $150. And then that third part, there is a piece that we are gonna be recruiting parents separately, but they're only gonna be involved in that parent engagement piece. Because this hopefully is part 1 of multiple hatch grants that I want to submit to and then be awarded, hopefully, to continue to support this work. But I want to start first in the ECE and then bridge it into the whole. And then the next click is a flyer for our coalition. I think there might be folks in the room and on the call that attended our first meeting. Thank you so much for those that have attended. If you are not aware of our coalition, this was led by my extension friend and colleague, Kate Graves. As we all saw, one of the opportunities identified is how do we just create a landing place for everyone that's interested in this to meet. and start breaking down silos. So we had our first meeting on August 6th, which I think was last week, but it feels like forever ago. And that's what I said earlier, where we got immediate feedback because we asked, do we support this mission? Because the coalition is not just ours, it's all of ours. And so we want to make sure that it speaks to all of our members in our ECE sector. And so we modified the language a little bit to also emphasize the on-site gardens to elevate that, because there are, and if you have stories, and if you haven't joined the coalition, we would be happy to receive those stories to amplify that even more. Because that's what we need. We know that people are doing this work, and maybe they're not calling it farm TVC. And so that's another, maybe it's just gardening, or maybe we're just doing nutrition education or agricultural education. And so we want to hear those stories so that we can start, the nerd in me is like, just systematically or standardize this so that we can give concrete recommendations. I know part of the research is like we have to publish papers, which that's part of my job, but what I want to do is how do we use this data to support, who do we share it with, and how does this inform policies and legislation that are going to impact our early care sector. I think I have one more slide, maybe.
And plus $50.
And plus $50. Yes. So thank you so much. This is one of the Thrive magazines that UNH puts out. Again, I'm just going to credit the lab because I wouldn't be able to do this work without them. And so these are just photos of our spectacular exploration workshop where we had purple potatoes, Japanese potatoes, and sweet potatoes, all from the UNH farm to be able to do this workshop. And so we had them explore, and it ended with a taste testing, and the Japanese sweet potato, I think, ended up being the top, even though it gets kind of brown after you cut it. But it was actually the most preferred by the kiddos, and the purple one they said tasted like dirt, which I've heard I've heard multiple times in other settings. So our email is mena.lab@UNH. I know Giovanna has dropped a few links in the chat about our screeners. You can sign up to do all objectives, but just know the first one that we're going to start with is those Go Knapsack surveys, because the goal is to also have these group discussions based on program type. We want our family childcare home providers and our centers, in respective groups because they have different needs. And then also there are programs that don't provide meal service or meal program. And initially the eligibility criteria deemed them ineligible to participate. And I felt like that was excluding potentially a lot of programs. So even if you don't have a meal program, we want you to enroll, because those are different questions that we can ask about what are the barriers to meal enrollment or to a meal program, and what can we do to help support our early care sites that want to offer a meal program, but maybe don't have the capacity to do so. So thank you. That's all. Any questions?
Can I have a couple of minutes at the end?
Sure, we're almost there.
Thank you. Well, those are just extra slides, but for more context, this is my grounding framework. And so for us to really, the framework for childhood health promotion talks about collective efficacy, the community, the family, and then of course policy. And so those are the three pillars that I keep in mind when we're talking about promoting early childhood health. It takes a village, so it's not going to be one ECE program, and it's not going to be one person, but it's going to be both.
You're about to have 200 of them sign up for $50 gift cards, so you'll have your village.
Those are just extra slides.
Okay.
Because I know where I was like, I know you're all aware of.
We'll just click through them
Such a
quick.
researcher, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got resources too.
Noreen, if you wouldn't mind sending an email out, with a flyer.
Oh, yes, and
a $50 banner, we'll all blast it around.
Yeah. So I'll reshare that electronically, and then I do have some paper, just a handful, because our printing has changed.
If you want to put them right on that table, we could grab them all the way out. That'd be great.
So, but I will should I share them to the mass email or the group email or?
I can share them with Katie and then we can post them with all the meeting materials and then we can blast them out. Yep.
Thank you, Noreen. Thank you. That was wonderful.
I'm sorry, one thing that didn't make it onto the agenda, and I don't know if they're here. The Playmakers Group has grant funds available for this amazing, oh yeah, Ant's there. But we are running out of time, Ant. I am so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for even the mention. Like, I know I've been seeing so many folks that are on this call here, and I know a lot of folks know who we are. I'm Ant Toombs, for those who don't know me, with the Playmaker Project. And I'm overjoyed hearing all of these resources. New Hampshire's rich. I don't know what happened to Live Free or Die, but you guys got it going on.
It's there, baby.
We're so excited over here at the Playmaker Project because we do have some new news. And you know what? I know we can't hold anybody up in hostage. So Alicia, are you here? Because I would like to just pass it over to her. Maybe she can just have a quick mention and be very concise in like 60 seconds. And then we can
Yeah, and send us materials too, and we will make sure everybody gets them.
Awesome. I'll do it in 30 seconds because I want to be mindful of everyone's time, and thank you for squeezing us in the last minute, but we will follow up with details. But we know that we are on a mission to make sure that every child in the Granite State has a playmaker, and that every early childhood educator has the support, the training, and the resources to continue to be as effective and consistent and stay in the field. And we have been in existence for over 30 years, providing a trauma-informed, play-based approach to truly help kids heal, learn, and thrive, and not just children, but also us adults too, because play is the antidote and the medicine to trauma. We are on a mission this year, especially to double down in the Granite State, and we are launching a Playmakers 603 and are going to be doing a kickoff on Saturday, October 18th, 2025 at the Life is Good headquarters to our Playmaker University program, and are offering full scholarships to folks who are interested. We're truly inviting early child care partners, and also investors who are interested in continuing to grow the movement and ensure that every child has a playmaker. And that's our 30-second pitch, but we will definitely follow up with info so that folks know how to get connected and how to sign up if they are interested. So
Thank you so much. We love free and we love $50.
Yeah.
So I want to get so much participation. I think Bill just has. Bill, go ahead, Bill.
As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm retired pediatrician. I'm the liaison from the Academy of Pediatrics. As I've said at this meeting a couple of times before, the Academy of Pediatrics is pediatricians who are dedicated to the welfare of children. It's not a trade organization for the pediatrician. It's an organization to improve the health and well-being of all children. All of us are under attack for childhood immunizations currently. And what we need is for people to speak out. If we don't get the support from the public, the changes will become permanent, and it'll impact on all of us, and it'll impact on all of our children. Because a 5 to 7 point drop in immunization coverage, for example, measles or chickenpox, will trigger the same thing that we saw in measles out west in Texas and a few other states. Children under the age of 2 to 4 in years past who didn't get the measles vaccine because it didn't fully come out until the 60s. 1 out of 400 either died or had significant health and brain damage that impacted on them the rest of their lives. I'm old enough at 78, going on 79, to have taken care of some of those children in your neighborhood at Jacoby Bronx Municipal, which is also the home of the Rose Kennedy Center for Development of Children, and Katie Bobak's Early Childhood Learning Center, first programs in the United States. We need people to speak out, both at the state level, because we have issues at the state level and at the federal level, Because if people speak out, we might be able to maintain the immunization status. It is critical, it's life-threatening for children. But we need help, we can't do it all ourselves. The Academy has taken a position, officially, public, that we believe in the immunization schedule that we've been developing and complete and been revising for the last 30 years and improving. And the federal government and at the state level have decided to take non-evidence-based pathways to limit access to vaccines. We have to stop the limitations.
Do you have as an organization any materials that you would be?
I'm sorry,
Do you have any materials you'd be able to share with us as a group so that we can then share it out on our socials or on our, email lists to support this message?
When we're done, because I don't want to hold everyone up, like give you my email, send that to me an email and I will have the organization, the Academy, forward you whatever you can, both at the state level, because we have a Department of State advocacy here. And they rely on us as individual practicing pediatricians to do it.
I think Shannon's gonna do that for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Shannon will contact you, we'll get all the information and then we'll send it out. Bill knows a lot about immunizations and actually at my agency really helped us kind of figure out how we felt about it as an agency and how we felt about safety and children and stuff. This is a really important topic. We are a bipartisan organization. This is not a party situation. This is not a Republican Democrat. I think this is a child safety situation. So thank you, Bill. That was fantastic. Yeah.
That's why I'm speaking as a representative for the Academy of Pediatrics for the welfare of children, not for myself and not for the pediatrician as an individual.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any updates or highlights or anything they want to share?
We absolutely don't have time for it.
But thank you for your thoughts.
You just keep
Thank you for the offer. Well, thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate it. Shannon will get out all of this information to everybody. And again, we appreciate you all coming and being part of the council and giving us your insight and input. And we look forward to our next meeting in October.
Nice job, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Do I have one more with the comments?
Yeah, I assumed you already do it. I figured you had some very.
So that's the.
We're sure.
I didn't know, like, I just we're like only part of the whole.
And there, if anybody wants 2026 calendars,
They really wouldn't even know what.
Suddenly I have so much time.
Are you kidding me? I'm gonna call you on the way home. I know she's, I fixed pictures, not sure for, yeah, I don't know. Yes, I'm sure she'll probably name you. Yeah. So,
And just like I didn't know if it's because like. I'm going to do some answer.
Did you say?
Yeah.
Did I not answer?
You didn't.
I stink.
No one answered.
That's not amazing, but I was trying to say, I don't. Send it out there. I don't mind. I love that. So Scott, but it's been.
Yeah. Actually, for me, it's dug out where I show up there.
Okay.
But I'm sort of, I'm going to that. If you don't mind me for all
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that.
Yeah.
And I last.
Yeah.
So you're talking to the building that I have, and then you would.
I know.
Show up, but.